the ability to repair things is a good skill to have if you want to be a reseller. That's the ceiling above my chair under the gazebo. That's the roof of the gazebo. And if you'll notice, right about here, let's see if I can do this better. Right about here is a metal patch and a chip out of this little rafter board. I came out one day and sat down in my chair, and I look out towards the wisteria over here, and I see this stick about 2 inches around, 6-7 feet long, and it's just kind of hanging in space, like this. And my eyes follow it back closer to me, and I look up, and the reason it's hanging in space is because the bottom foot of it is through the roof of the gazebo, and the place where it penetrated is directly above my chair. It was a branch that came down in a storm, punctured the gazebo. Luckily I had some of a similar colored metal and was able to put a patch on it. So sometimes you don't have to discard and replace something simply because it's gotten worn or damaged. Sometimes you can make a repair or a patch and it falls into the acceptable category. Sure, I'd have been happier if it had never been hit, the roof. Often when you go to these estate sales, garage sales, you'll see something that is worn or incomplete. But one of the business models I like the best is that of recycling and upcycling, to take something from its original purpose and turn it into something different. Because obsolescence, whether it be people or things, obsolescence is one of those problems we have to deal with in modern society. Your skill set can be eliminated overnight. Whatever job you did could be gone. It could be eclipsed by technology. It could be eclipsed by a new model. It could be eclipsed by a change in the way things are done. And all of a sudden you find yourself adrift because your skill isn't needed anymore. A lot of people get into reselling from that point. They look around and they've got to decide what to do moving forward because their old skill is no longer needed, or at least not in the quantity that would employ them. So they take a look and they say, well, maybe I'll try something new, this gig economy. I'll try upcycling, or I'll try recycling, salvage work. Or I'll just simply shift into buying and selling and doing that locally or online. Well, that's a great place to be starting from, because you've kind of ended your past employment and you're looking ahead at what your future employment is. And sometimes, even though no one may want to hire you because that skill became obsolete, along the way you collected other skills which can then be incorporated into your new business. If a guy's job was to, say, fix equipment, typewriters, and you just don't see many typewriters anymore, well, what did you learn about working on small, finicky things that can transfer into working on something new that's small and finicky? So, are you a picker or a gleaner, or a hybrid? Pickers and gleaners, or those who do both, or neither. Yeah, I think American pickers probably taught America about being pickers. Yeah, I think most people who had a television or a smartphone now know what a picker is. But one thing that always surprised me about that show was as those two drove around the country, and they'd only pick up an item or two here or there, how the viewing audience was supposed to believe that those purchases were going to pay for their bills. Yeah, obviously the production company was picking up the tab for most of what they were showing and doing, because you really can't drive around and just get an item here, of half a dozen items there, even if you filled the van load. But if you're staying in hotels, eating all your meals on the road, you've got to have more volume than that if you're out on the road doing it. Now, a gleaner, on the other hand, and for much of the nearly 30 years Rose and I have been doing this, we'd probably be classified as gleaners. Have you ever gone to an estate and saw something you liked, but the initial prices were too high? and you told the guy, you left him a phone number, or you said you'd be back on Sunday once they were discounting, and told him if the price was right, you'd buy up everything that was left, the good, the bad, and you'd sort it out back at home, then you're a gleaner. Gleaners are guys who come in and find value in what's left after the pickers have come and gone. I think the term originated with fruit pickers. You know, you'd come in and you'd harvest the crop, but there'd always be a few that weren't ripe and ready, or there'd be a few on the ground around the trees. And to pick up the ones that are on the ground and to turn them into something useful, that's gleaning. So most of us actually go through the reselling business doing a bit of both. I probably lean towards the gleaning more than the picking, because the ROI is better. There's more time involved, there's more transport involved, there's more storage involved, sorting, but you can pick up large groups of things for very small dollar amounts, and you can find value putting together lots or culling out individual items to resell on their own, because a lot of these auction houses especially, their primary job is to empty the house so that the real estate can be dealt with. Perhaps there's somebody moving or the death of a family member. Their goal is to get everything they can out of the house. So by the end, they're just moving volume. The price itself, somewhat important, but not the overriding factor. So the deals to be had when you're on the buying side are better. Storage units fall into that category too, since you're buying everything inside the storage unit, and sometimes that includes the trash cans that were left with trash in them. They end up in the storage unit. Or as people come and go to get things in and out of their storage unit, you'll find the leftover candy wrappers and fast food wrappers and soda cans from their visit to the storage unit. So obviously if you're taking everything, your waste factor is higher, but your ROI can be better. Yeah, I think it'll be an easy day today around the old homestead after a couple of days of moving the retaining blocks. My legs are sore, so I'll give myself a break, and I think I'll do some listing. Then, of course, towards the end of the week, I've got to start prepping auction lots again to go out to auction. The effort to keep clearing the workshop of those surplus bins. I'm liking the extra space I'm getting. I think I'll go after maybe some sockets and wrenches this week, especially if the heat wave is going to continue. That way I can work inside where it's cooler. Turn the ones I don't want into some auction lots or some eBay lots. And once I've got that table and it's table saw and its outfeed table clear, then I can perhaps begin on my inventory, which is long overdue. I shot some inventory footage, must have been 2 weeks back, but I haven't done anything with it yet, showing a bit about my system and how it's currently transitioning to the lake locations from the old Seebeck and storage unit locations. But that was an early video, so it might be a little, the quality might be poor. So maybe I'll have to reshoot that now that I've gotten a little bit better about this. I still have a long way to go. I think I'm up to, today's video will be number 15 on the uploaded video list, and I've probably got 30, 40 hours of old footage still to sift through and see what's worth using. Which points I made early on, even though the video quality, the photography work was lacking. I think some of those topics will either need to be revisited and reshot or edited. And of course, that's one of the things about just starting out with this, is the editing process takes longer because the presenter, old Watosh here, did a much poorer job. A lot of gnats flying out in the sun today. You can see the shade line right there. I feel like an island of comfortable shade surrounded by a sea of bright sunshine. Nice breeze blowing in off the lake. It's very comfortable here. But I'm down to my last cup of coffee, and it's about time to go do something. I know it hit, what'd you say, 91 yesterday?
Yep.
It's going to be 80 something again today. Geese. Not just ducks today. Yeah, I think American pickers probably taught America about being pickers. Couple that up with the Star Wars, or not Star Wars, Storage Wars.